نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. So today we will continue from verse number 16 of Surah Jathiyah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ولقد آتينا بني إسرائيل الكتاب والحكم والنبوة ورزقناهم من الطيبات وفضلناهم على العالمين. And we did certainly give the children of Israel the scripture and judgment and prophethood, and we provided them with good things and preferred them over the worlds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the blessings and distinctions bestowed to Bani Israel in this verse. The first one is Al-Kitab, and could refer to Torah and Injil. And then Wal-Hukm, which is the kingship to establish judgment among people, and also understanding the book given to them. And then Wan-Nubuwah, prophethood, so they were sent many prophets in their nation. And then وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ, they were given different blessings of food and fruits. In particular, Manu Salwa was given to them. And then finally, وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى الْعَالَمِينَ, preference over all other nations of their time. So remember that Ummah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the best of all nations across all times, whereas Bani Israel was given distinction only among other nations of their time. وَآتَيْنَاهُمْ بَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْرِ فَمَا اخْتَلَفُوا إِلَّا مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْعِلْمُ بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ يَقْضِي بَيْنَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فِيمَا كَانُوا فِيهِ يَخْتَلِفُونَ. And we gave them clear proofs of the matter of religion, and they did not differ except after knowledge had come to them, out of jealous animosity between themselves. Indeed, your Lord will judge between them on the day of resurrection concerning that over which they used to differ. So, آتَيْنَاهُمْ بَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْرِ, meaning, and we gave them clear proofs of the matter. There are a few different opinions about what proofs are mentioned here. Some scholars consider this to refer to the miracles given to Musa alayhi salam, and others consider it to mean evidences and knowledge of the coming of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as the final messenger. So why did Bani Israel disputed these proofs? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us they did that because of jealousy among themselves. بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge them on matters of disagreement on the day of judgment, so they will know the truth at that time. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَاكَ عَلَى شَرِيعَةٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْرِ فَاتَّبِعْهَا وَلَا تَتَّبِعْ أَهْوَاءَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Then we put you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on an ordained way concerning the matter of religion. So follow it and do not follow the inclinations of those who do not know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave a new sharia to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is obligatory for everyone to follow. We should understand that the fundamentals of the faith have been the same for all prophets, but the laws related to daily living have changed over a period of time based on the circumstances and demands of the era those prophets were sent in. There's a warning here for Muslims. We should not follow the path of previous nations who disbelieved and made partners of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for us, what is obligatory is the Sharia of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إِنَّهُمْ لَن يُغْنُوا عَنْكَ مِنَ اللَّهِ شَيْئًا وَإِنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ وَاللَّهُ وَلِيُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Indeed, they will never avail you against Allah at all. And indeed, the wrongdoers are allies of one another. But Allah is the protector of the righteous. So, لَن يُغْنُوا عَنْكَ, meaning لَن يَدْفَعُوا عَنْكَ. They will not be able to protect you from or save you from something. If anyone attempts to appease disbelievers while disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they will not get any protection from Allah's punishment. In this world, you'll find people, enemy nations, adopting practices of superpowers of today. In their minds, the key to worldly success is to follow others, even at the risk of outright disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to be clear on this concept that it is only Allah that is the protector of believers. The other insight we get in this verse is وَإِنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ, meaning that wrongdoers and disbelievers are supporters of each other. And this is obvious today in global politics, where coalitions are formed among disbelievers in record time to protect the interest of each other, but you find apathy and inaction when it comes to resolving conflicts in the Muslim world. هذا بصائر للناس وهدى ورحمة لقوم يوقنون. This Quran is enlightenment for mankind and guidance and mercy for a people who are certain in faith. Let's review verses 16 to 20. Bani Israel was superior to other nations at their time, but the Ummah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is superior to nations of all times. And jealousy was the primary reason of the people of the book to reject the prophethood of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And it is incumbent upon us to follow the Sharia of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in all matters. أم حسب الذين اجترحوا السيئات أن نجعلهم كالذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات سواء محياهم ومماتهم ساء ما يحكمون. Or do those who commit evil think we will make them like those who have believed and done righteous deeds? We make them equal in their life and in their death. Evil is that which they judge. So ijtarahu means iktasabu, earned or committed. This verse negates the ideology that there are no repercussions to one's actions and that we are not accountable to any supreme being for our deeds. How is it possible that someone committing a sin is equal to another person who performs good deed? This is against the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He does not consider a righteous person and a sinner to be equal in this world or in the hereafter. As we learn in Surah Hashr, verse 20, لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة. Not equal are the dwellers of the fire and the dwellers of the paradise. وخلق الله السماوات والأرض بالحق ولتجزى كل نفس بما كسبت وهم لا يظلمون. And Allah created the heavens and the earth in truth, and so that every soul may be recompensed for what it has earned, and they will not be wronged. The heavens and the earth are created on the principle of justice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward and punish everyone based on their actions, such that no one will be treated unjustly. أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ وَخَتَمَ عَلَى سَمْعِهِ وَقَلْبِهِ وَجَعَلَ عَلَى بَصَرِهِ غِشَاوَةً فَمَنْ يَهْدِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ اللَّهِ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Have you seen he who has taken as his God his own desire, and Allah has sent him astray due to knowledge, and has set a seal upon his hearing and his heart, and put over his vision a veil? So who will guide him after Allah? Then will you not be reminded? So the word hawa means desires. And what does it mean to take desires as gods? It does not mean that someone declares explicitly that I'm going to be a worshiper of my desires. Even if you ask a disbeliever, he will not admit to this form of worship. So we can consider the meaning of taking as God to be obedience rather than worship. When someone follows whatever pleases him without the concern whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared it lawful or unlawful, then he is simply obeying his desires as if those desires are his gods. Narrated by Shaddad bin Aus in Tirmidhi, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Al-Kayyisu man dana nafsahu wa amila lima ba'da al-mawti wal-ajiz وَالْعَاجِزُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ نَفْسَهُ هَوَاهَا وَتَمَنَّى عَلَى اللَّهِ. The wise man is one who holds himself accountable and performs good deeds for what is after death. The foolish man is one who follows his desires and merely hopes in Allah. What could be some examples of this behavior of following one's desires in our society today? If you think about business and commerce, it could be about evading taxes. It could be about earning money without following the laws of the jurisdiction where you are running your business. In terms of employment, it could be working in restricted industries like alcohol and gambling, which are prohibited to work in Islam. When it comes to eating, you have to think about halal or haram and losing that sense and eating whatever your palate desire is a form of following your desires or making desire your God. Relationships are the same, which is you have to keep modesty and chastity in talking to the opposite gender and not to get engaged in extramarital affairs, because then you're simply following your carnal desires. Fashion is the same, donning clothing that shows aura or applying lotions, makeups with impermissible ingredients, again, for your desire to look good is another example. So there could be many, many such examples. We have to keep looking for when we are considering the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are mindful of distinguishing between halal and haram instead of simply doing things the way we want them for our own pleasure. Narrated by Abu Hurairah in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, تعيس عبد الدينار والدرهم والقطيفة والخميصة إن أعطي رضي وإن لم يعطى لم يرضى. Wretched is the slave of gold, silver, fine clothes, and garments. If he is given, he is pleased. But if he is not given, he is displeased. Meaning his only criteria of relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that he gets what he wants for his own purpose, for his own pleasure, that his desires are fulfilled. And if that's going on, then he may consider worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if he is not given what his nafs is asking for, then he's displeased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the correct understanding of our purpose, of knowing our Lord, and to comply to his commands, and not to become people of hawa who follow nothing but their whims and desires. Ameen. Coming back to the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues on and says, وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. This could have two meanings. First would be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that this person deserves to be misguided, so he left him astray. And the second meaning is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let this person astray after he received the knowledge and the proof that was established before him. وَخَتَمَ عَلَى سَمْعِهِ وَقَلْبِهِ وَجَعَلَ عَلَى بَصَرِهِ غِشَاوَةً. Ghishāwa means covering or veil. Once sealed, such a person ignores what he hears of benefit for him. He does not understand what could lead him to guidance, and he does not see the obvious evidence which can enlighten him. فَمَنْ يَهْدِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ اللَّهِ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only source of guidance. And once a person fails to accept Allah's guidance, there is no way to return to the straight path. As it comes in Surah Araf, verse 186, مَنْ يُضْلِلِ اللَّهُ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ وَيَذَرُهُمْ فِي طُغْيَانِهِمْ يَعْمَهُونَ. Whomsoever Allah sends astray, none can guide him, and he lets them wander blindly in their transgressions. Let's review verses 21 to 23. Negation of the invalid belief of disbelievers is mentioned here, that people live and die without any recompense for their good deeds and evil deeds. And then there's warning against following one's desires without any consideration of lawful and unlawful acts. وقالوا ما هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا نموت ونحيا وما يهلكنا إلا الدهر وما لهم بذلك من علم إن هم إلا يظنون. And they say, there is not but our worldly life. We die and live, and nothing destroys us except time. And they have of that no knowledge. They are only assuming. The word dahr means a very long period of time, or it refers to the passage of time, the days and nights as they go by. Atheists and idol worshippers believed that life and death are natural phenomena. As we get older, our bodies weaken and our abilities diminish to the point where our organs no longer are able to function and death occurs. In this context, they used to consider passing of time to be the cause of hardships and ultimately death. Whenever a calamity struck them, they used to blame such incidents on ad-dahr, time, and cursed it. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who causes any and all things to happen. So their curse to time was actually a curse upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We as Muslims are ordered then not to curse time in any situation. Narrated by Abu Hurairah ta'ala anhu in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, لا تسبوا الدهر فإن الله هو الدهر. Do not curse time, for it is Allah who is time. And in another narration, narrated by Abu Hurairah ta'ala anhu in Sunan Abi Dawood, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, يقول الله عز وجل يؤذيني ابن آدم يسب الدهر وأنا الدهر بيدي الأمر أقلب الليل والنهار. Allah, the Exalted and Glorious, said, the son of Adam displeases me by cursing dahr, time, whereas I am dahr. Authority is in my hand. I alternate the night and the day. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us not to curse the time. And you may not notice it, but many of us are guilty of the same behavior. We commonly hear phrases among our co-workers like, I hate Monday mornings, because that's their first day of work. Or parents may express dissatisfaction and hurt from their offspring as, damn the day you were born. Or friends may recall a practical joke that happened to them and swear upon the time it happened in candor. A particular group of individuals, like farmers, may curse the hour when excessive rainfall occurred that damaged their crops. In a more general sense, people may show their disapproval of loss of a loved one or oppression of a dictator in words like, may God curse the day so-and-so died or so-and-so was born. And even some of us, out of habit, when we hear a bad news like failing an exam, may curse the moment it happened. All these are common situations in daily life that require us to restrain ourselves and not to curse the time. One thing to keep in mind is that there is a difference between reviling, meaning cursing time, and describing it. For example, if you say, today was extremely cold, or winter was quite long this year, or the day so-and-so passed away was very difficult upon me, all these are okay, as you are describing the events and how they impacted you, rather than cursing the day or the time they occurred. Let's be mindful and catch ourselves in moments of sorrow and shock in particular, not to curse the time or day it happened. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the strength to act according to His pleasure. Ameen. وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ مَا كَانَ حُجَّتُهُمْ إِلَّا أَن قَالُوا ائْتُوا بِآبَائِنَا إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. And when our verses are recited to them as clear evidences, their argument is only that they say, bring back our forefathers if you should be truthful. Whenever disbelievers were reminded of resurrection, they would demand Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to bring back their ancestors as a proof. And even given other clear proofs of Allah's power, like creation of man from a drop of semen, or splitting of a seed to germinate into a plant, or reviving of a dry and barren land by rainwater. All of these they would not accept and keep on repeating their demand of the only thing we would accept to believe in the resurrection is if you can bring back our forefathers. قُلِ اللَّهُ يُحْيِيكُمْ ثُمَّ يُمِيتُكُمْ ثُمَّ يَجْمَعُكُمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Say, Allah causes you to live, then causes you to die, then He will assemble you for the day of resurrection, about which there is no doubt, but most of the people do not know. La rayba fi, meaning la shakka fi, no doubt in it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to make the dead alive, as He would gather all mankind on the day of judgment at a predetermined moment, as it comes in Surah Hud, verse number 104. وَمَا نُؤَخِّرُهُ إِلَّا لِأَجَلٍ مَعْدُودٍ. And we delay it only for a fixed term, meaning to bring back the ancestors. Now is not the time. That will happen on the day of judgment, which is at a fixed time. And people tend to forget this reality and sometimes may find it far-fetched that such a day would happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in Surah Ma'arij, verses 6 to 7. إِنَّهُمْ يَرَوْنَهُ بَعِيدًا وَنَرَاهُ قَرِيبًا. Indeed, they see it as distant, but we see it as near. Let's review verses 24 to 26. To consider life and death as mere natural processes without a creator is mistaken and deluded. And it is prohibited to curse time, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the true source of all events. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَخْسَرُ الْمُبْطِلُونَ. And to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth, and the day the hour appears, that day the falsifiers will lose. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declares a loss for anyone who rejects the day of judgment. When the day of judgment is established, the disbelievers will regret their actions. As we learn in Surah An'am, verse 31, قَدْ خَسِرَ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِلِقَاءِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَتْهُمُ السَّاعَةُ بَغْتَةً قَالُوا يَا حَسْرَتَنَا عَلَى مَا فَرَّطْنَا فِيهَا وَهُمْ يَحْمِلُونَ أَوْزَارَهُمْ عَلَى ظُهُورِهِمْ أَلَا سَاءَ مَا يَزِرُونَ. They indeed are losers who denied their meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until all of a sudden the hour, meaning the signs of death, is upon them. And they say, alas for us that we gave no thought to it, but they will bear their burdens on their backs, and evil indeed are the burdens that they will bear. وَتَرَى كُلَّ أُمَّةٍ جَاثِيَةٍ كُلُّ أُمَّةٍ تُدْعَى إِلَى كِتَابِهَا الْيَوْمَ تُجْزَوْنَ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And you will see every nation kneeling from fear. Every nation will be called to its record and told, today you will be recompensed for what you used to do. The word Jathiyah means kneeling down due to extreme horror. On the day of judgment, all nations will be in the posture of kneeling down. And this will be due to the horrors of the day. Some scholars consider kul to mean most, not all in this verse. And in that case, the verse would exclude prophets and righteous believers from experiencing this horror. Another interpretation of Jathiyah is the posture of sitting in the position of salah, which would mean then the sitting out was out of respect and honor, not out of fear and horror. And Allah knows best. هذا كتابنا ينطق عليكم بالحق إنا كنا نستنسخ ما كنتم تعملون. This, our record, speaks about you in truth. Indeed, we were having transcribed whatever you used to do. The book of deeds has everything committed by a person, good or bad. On the day of judgment, disbelievers will not help but exclaim how accurate this book was in capturing their disobedience. We learn in Surah Kahf, verse 49, وَوُضِعَ الْكِتَابُ فَتَرَى الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُشْفِقِينَ مِمَّا فِيهِ ويقولون يا ويلتنا ما لهذا الكتاب لا يغادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها ووجدوا ما عملوا حاضرا ولا يظلم ربك أحدا. And the book will be produced, and you will see the criminals fearful of that which is therein. They will say, woe to us! What sort of book is this that leaves neither a small thing nor a large thing, but has recorded it with numbers? And they will find all that they did present, and your Lord treats no one with injustice. Let's review verses 27 to 29. Disbelievers will be in loss on the day of judgment. All nations will be in the kneeling position due to the horrors of the day of judgment. In the book of deeds have every action recorded, whether good or evil. We'll stop here, inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم